Roger Hamilton to Melbourne.
Good morning. All right, we ready for the waves? Here we go. Wave number one we didn't even have last year because this has merged a number of waves together. There's the video wave, there's the mobile wave, there's the growth in data. They all come into something where we now have a word and flow. A word and flow has some massive implications on your business right now, as we're going to see. What is the word and flow? It's the amount of data which is transforming and what people are sharing with each other. You can see here, this is the entire world's information in something called zettabytes. And you can see that that's actually going up to 8 zettabytes by next year, per year, coming down from a very, very small kind of like 1 zettabyte several years ago. You say, well, what is a zettabyte? Well, think about it like this. A byte is kind of like a character, like an A or a 1. That's 1 byte, right? So something like hello has got 5 bytes in it. A gigabyte is 1 billion bytes. Think about that like being a truck full of printed paper. That would be what it would feel like in terms of information. An exabyte is 1 billion trucks. It's like spanning the world several times over is an exabyte. And a zettabyte is 1,000 of those. So it's a lot. And a zettabyte, if you were to go back in time and say in exabytes, information that was created, up until 1960, the entire world's information that had ever been created from all of our different civilizations was about 5 of these exabytes. As you can see here, a zettabyte is 4,000 exabytes, and that was how much information was uploaded in 2013 alone. Another way of putting that is that means every day there was about 15 exabytes. There was about 3 times the world's information from 1960 up to 1960 that was uploaded and shared during that day, which means kind of like before lunch, it was already the entire world's information. By mid-afternoon, it was the entire world's information. By the evening, again, it was the 3rd time round for the day, the entire world's information. And this is actually getting to a point where this coming year is going to be the entire world's information before breakfast. It's like the speed of flow of information means that if you're going to go out there and put up a 3-minute video or a website, the chance of anyone seeing it, given the amount of information that's actually being shared, is almost 0. If you take how much this is growing, which is 50-fold, you're going up to 40,000 exabytes by the time we get to 2020, so it's not slowing down. Take that in terms of images. If you posted an image on Facebook today, you would be one of 500 million photos which are shared every single day right now. 500 million. And if you take that from the point of view of videos, if you posted a 3-minute video on YouTube today or anytime this week, you would be one little chunk of what is now 100 hours of video uploaded per minute. This is not 100 hours of video uploaded per week or per day. It's per minute how much is uploaded on one site alone, which is YouTube. So we have a challenge because there's more information than ever being shared. How could we do something with that, given that the more we post things, the more we share things, the more we send information out, the less people are actually even reading any of that if we actually want to get to our audience. And it's not slowing down. We've actually got 5G coming along, which is 1,000 times faster than 4G, which means you can actually download a full-length film in 1 second. And now what this means is that the whole internet is changing from what is something we read to something we watch to something we experience. It's going to go to 3D worlds, just like the big gaming worlds right now, where we're going to have a 3D experience of the internet in the future, which means how we're even organizing our information has to change. And if we say, no, we'll do that later, well, it's already changing. If you have a video and you have people watching your video, you'll have many more watching that video than they will click through your website. The days of clicking through any website are over. I mean, when's the last time you started actually clicking through something if there was a video you could watch to get the information instead? In fact, if there was just one thing you did today, which is if you think, what are the 4 or 5 things I want someone to see when they come to my website? And just imagine no one's going to click on anything. And even if all you did was you just went to your own website and you just clicked your screen capture on your page, and you just say to everyone, hi everyone, it's Roger, and I just want to show you 3 things on my website that I think are the most important things for you and your business, and you just click through what you want them to see, and you just post that video of what you're showing them on your homepage, you will find you have more people watching the video of your website than they will want to click through your website. I mean, that's how much things have changed. But for most of us, we don't have that. I don't know if you remember, there was a time we used to read the television. There was this thing called teletext. Back in the 1980s, that's how most people got their news. They'd kind of click through the BBC teletext or something, and we used to read it because we weren't at a point where it was fast enough for us to get to the news. So we had to go through to get the up-to-date news from teletext. We're going to laugh at the fact that there was a time we used to read the internet. We actually used to stop on a page and have to read this thing because everything's moving and everything's changing as we're moving forward. This is also the year that mobile overtakes desktop, right? It's 2014, we got like, what, 1.6 billion users on mobile, and it's going to increase rapidly from here, which means it's not even about the world being in flow in terms of video, it's a world being in flow in terms of people's ability to access information whenever they want. So you say, well, what's the impact of all of this? You know, where does this actually take us? Here's two examples I just want to give you very briefly. This first example is someone who came here to the Fast Forward 2 years ago in Melbourne. Her name's Bernadette. Some of you will know Bernadette. She set up the Australian School of Copywriting. And when she came, this is what her website looked like. And she was struggling at that point. I said, right, tell me about your challenges. And she said, I've got a big challenge. I've got a business, which has been really successful in the past, but frankly, in the market right now, there aren't as many people trying to be copywriters. That was her market, because people are just bypassing that and going out and doing their own copywriting. So all these great products I've got, people don't want them so much. I said, well, do you want us to talk about how to make your business more successful? She goes, isn't that why I'm here? And I go, not really. Let's start talking about where you want to be 5 years from now. Do you want to have a business in copywriting? You want a different business? She thought about that. She thought, well, actually, I don't really want to be in copywriting at all. I said, what do you want to be in? She goes, really, honestly? I said, yeah, when you were like 10 years old, 11 years old, like 30 years ago, what did you want to be in life? She goes, I wanted to be an actress. I was like, really? She goes, yeah, I wanted to be an actress. I even went for like casting in Neighbours and things like that, but I just never made it there, so I ended up kind of like starting the school instead. I was like, well, if you could do something that got you in front of the camera, would that excite you? She goes, that would totally excite me. I said, okay, so now we know what you're going to do. Now let's talk about your customers. Do you want to have copywriters as your customers? She goes, no. I said, so you know what you don't want. What do you want? What kind of people inspire you? She goes, well, entrepreneurs inspire me. I'd love to be in front of entrepreneurs, but these things don't gel. I said, yeah, but what if they did? What if you actually did all of this together? And I said, you know, there's people like Oprah and others that go out and they interview people, and you get someone like Larry King who goes out and interviews people who are like entrepreneurs and so on. She goes, oh my gosh, I would love to do that. I said, well, use all this technology and the things we've shared to do it. What are people interested in today? She goes, well, they're interested in online, they're interested in entrepreneurs. So what did she do? She created this. Secrets of Online Entrepreneurs. Secrets of Online Aussie Entrepreneurs. She had a whole series of people behind her. She got Paul Green, who's head of the National Online Retailers Association. She got all these different entrepreneurs that already had been successful. So she doesn't have to earn the right. There's a huge difference in what you're thinking of doing between being something which is called we're talking about being an expert. There's something called a teaching teacher. So a teaching teacher is someone who says, I need to go and get qualifications for me to teach something. If I don't have a PhD in it, I need to go out and get a body of knowledge. I might go 10, 20 years learning how to do something like sales and be someone like a Brian Tracy, or I might have to go out and learn for years and years to be something like motivation. The problem with that is that these people get out of date really fast today, because what they had that worked 5 years ago doesn't work anymore. So Bernadette she said, I don't know anything about entrepreneurship. I don't know anything about online. It's like, you don't need to know any of that stuff, because this is not about you being a teaching teacher. This is about you being a leading learner. A leading learner is when you say, I've just learned the latest stuff that the latest people are doing right now that works. And when you're a leading learner, every one of us can be that. And it's easier to be that, especially when most other people are being left behind. So that's what she did. She actually went out and said, right, I'm going to actually start this program. She says, I don't have funding for it right now. I need to find people who can give me the venue, people who are going to want to fill up a room for me. She went to the Chambers of Commerce. She got a number of them to say, yes, we'll fill up the room if you bring the TV crew. She got a TV crew to say, you don't have to pay us. We'll get a percentage of things from later. So as a result, she got everything for free. She got the first couple set up. She had people then coming to speak, amazing people speaking with her as well. She got her whole system set up, and now as a result, she's now known all over Australia for this program she has, and she has the top 2 Australian networks, TV networks, that now are also supporting her and hosting her program on their sites as well. That's all happened within 18 months of her deciding to shift her strategy. Another example, this is Vaughan Clare. Vaughan, I love Vaughan's story, because for a lot of us, we're like, I'm in business already. Frankly, when Vaughan came to here in Melbourne as well, and this was again several years ago, at that point he'd been successful in point of sale, right? So he'd been working at that point with the Australian Post, and he's like, you know what? I really like the idea of going into mobile and mobile technology. I just haven't got around to it because I'm so busy doing the things I'm doing right now. So the very first step, and this is one of the most important things about whatever you're doing and however you're doing it, is to create what I call the brand triangle. That you have a personal brand, and this is your identity. And this in itself is one point, which then links to these other ones, which is your product, whatever your product happens to be, and your company. You don't need to have all three. If you've got a strong personal brand, other companies will want to work with you. If you have a strong personal brand and a product brand, you'll have other companies wanting to work with you. And if you have a strong company brand, other products will want to come and work with you. Most of us are trying to focus at one thing without realizing how important all three of them are. And when you're starting something fresh, to say, wait, where am I going? Rather than starting by saying, what do I do with my company, which is not what Bernadette should have done, or what do I do with the product, you start by saying, wait, what about my own personal brand? Oprah Winfrey is a good example. Oprah is her personal brand. That in itself, she has for life, and she keeps growing it, just like Richard Branson grows it regardless of what businesses he has. Then she has a company brand, which is called Harpo. Harpo, H-A-R-P-O, is Oprah backwards. And Harpo is how she became a billionaire, because she owns that, and that's what owns the rights to all of her products, including things like the Oprah Winfrey Show, which she will then focus and shine a light on. So we have a situation here with Vaughan where he's like, you know what, my company brand is redundant. That's in an old industry. It's about to change. My product brands, well, who knows what they might be? But instead of me trying to figure that out, I've got to ask myself, who do I want to be? And by him saying, you know, I know who I want to be, and I'm going to articulate it, he articulated it, as you can see on a Twitter page. The moment you can do this, like if you leave here today and you say, I'm going to articulate who I'm going to be in a couple of years' time on my Twitter page. Working in mobile retail technology with a focus on point of sale, online retail, payment systems, and mobile smart technology. Up to that point, Vaughan hadn't been spending any time in that area at all, outside of his more sophisticated point of sale systems. He put this up there. He says, I'm just going to put it up there. We also go through a process at Fast Forward where we say, don't use Twitter as a way to broadcast when you're starting off. Use it as a way to receive information. So we show you how, basically, with lists, you can click on a list and say, who are the experts around the world you want to follow? So Vaughan basically set up a list, which is called payments, mobile payments and new payment technology. He did this straight after Fast Forward. He went out and connected with all of the other people out there that were already sharing great stuff. By having that information coming his way, you can then use this thing, which is called paper.ly, to actually create an online newspaper which comes to your email every single day of the very, very latest in your industry. So suddenly, he was getting a more high-quality trade paper on the mobile industry than he could get if he was waiting for someone else to create it. And it was tailor-made for him. It allowed him every day to stay as the expert. But when he wakes up every day, he's no longer waking up every day to an industry which is in decline, which is the more complex, retail point of sale, which no one's buying anymore. He's not looking at that every day and going, oh my gosh, where's my business? He's looking at this wave coming every day and getting invigorated by it, learning new things as he's going. And the end result of that is, instead of him worrying about what business do I start, he instead said, I'm just going to focus on my personal brand and what I'm interested in. He set up a blog. This is on WordPress. Very simple. He didn't even have to post anything himself. He's finding the things he finds most interesting. He's posting those things up. And then he started getting inquiries from people out there saying, can you come work with us? He ended up being able to choose the inquiry he wanted to work with. And he ended up working with this company here, where they now have got something called Nomad, which is supporting many retailers right here in Australia. And the only way they actually even connected with Vaughan is that they could see that Vaughan was going down this new direction, and they said, we need someone like that. And Vaughan became their CTO. So that's an example of a story. Here's a little summary of what we've just been talking about with this first wave, which is, with everything going in flow, we know with customers, their expectations have gone up. All our expectations of what we expect within 2 or 3 minutes of coming to someone's site has gone up. And at the same time, our attention has gone down. So we're not going to give someone as much of our attention to try and explain what they're doing. We're certainly not going to wait for a quotation and for 5 or 6 contact points before we decide if we're going to do business. We want to be able to see that information up front. So our expectations have changed. However, so has the opportunity. We can now reach more people faster, further than ever before. So if we actually get this right, then we can scale our business much faster by using the right communication channels as well. So it's all about going from quantity to quality. It's not about how much you can post or how many pages you have on your website. It's about how can you get your message out in the most succinct, most effective way that people want to share it with other people. You know, turn your site into a channel. Like, it's no longer about people wanting to basically click through things. It's about people watching things that give them the message on every aspect of why they should work with you. Redesign everything for mobile. There's some very simple ways you can do this right now. I'll show you a couple in a moment. You create a 3-minute video, because the moment you do that, it doesn't just give you a vehicle to get you market. It gives you and your sales team and everyone in your company a way to be able to say, well, if I had to sum up what I'm saying in 3 minutes, what would I say? Because we need, just by understanding these tools exist, you don't have to go out and spend lots of money on it. You don't have to be a techie. You just need to decide it's a priority And then as a result of that, you're getting out to the rest of the market. This is how Facebook has gone and effectively doubled its share price. In fact, it's getting close to tripling its share price within 12 months, was that Mark Zuckerberg simply said, the reason that people aren't valuing us is because they don't see us as a mobile company. Everything's going mobile. We need to reorientate ourselves as a mobile company. He said to everyone in his company 12 months ago, we are now mobile. Before they were. I mean, at that point, Facebook was still designed for the PC, for the big 15-inch screen. So at that point, when he said that, he didn't just say it, he actually took it through in actions. If he showed up for any meeting in Facebook from then onwards, and the first conversation wasn't, here's what we're doing with mobile, he got up and left the meeting. He was that strict in saying we have to be looking at ourselves as a mobile company. If we're looking at a new screen for a new video or for a new site for our page, I want to see it on mobile first to see what that looks like. And that change allowed everyone to see not only that his focus was that way, but his advertising, everything now is driven through mobile. We did the same thing within our business, and that transformed our business in the last 24 months. So there's lots of people here who are in the industry who are doing awesome things. So pause for a moment and think, from everything we just went through in this first wave, what would be a $10,000 idea that just by implementing it, you could see that making that difference in your business, or $100,000, or $1 million idea?